So after the greeting, we have Act 2. And Act 2 we can call the opening. So what the opening is all about is the idea that really you can't close anybody until you've opened them first. The first scene in this act is when our body language changes. We've gone from a nice, comfortable warm-up, relaxed, having a coffee, talking about pretty much anything, the weather, how they got to the appointment, all those types of things. But really then what needs to happen is we need to get down to business. And what that involves is a change in body language, where you're actually facing the prospect, quite seriously, and you provide them with what's known as an intent statement. An intent statement is something that a phrase or a series of comments that really explain to the prospect what's about to happen. So it's usually providing them with an agenda as to what's going to happen during the presentation, letting them know how long the presentation might be, letting them know as well that it's okay to say no if they decide that this isn't for them, putting them at ease, and making sure that they've understood what the goal, what the expectation of the presentation is, which is obviously to make some kind of decision, make some kind of choice to move to the next stage, which is typically purchasing the product that you're presenting. So that's the intent statement. And you might think of that as Act 2 opening, Scene 1, the intent statement. Now, Act 1, Scene 2 is the discovery. And the discovery is really where you begin to really understand what your prospect is interested in. You need to understand a little bit more about their past, what kinds of problems they've had in order to determine what kind of solutions you might be offering them. So really, we're talking about opening up that prospect, understanding what's in their background, what's their goals, what is their dominant buying motive, what are their emotional interests in purchasing your product. Because really, that is the absolute best way to get someone to feel comfortable with deciding that this is something that's for them, if it aligns with what they're most interested in. And understanding what dominant buying motives is something we spend a lot of time in training doing, because it's those emotional motivators that make all the difference between somebody who is moderately interested in what you're offering versus somebody who is really, really interested in what you're offering, which is what you want. And then, of course, we try to understand the criteria, what are the things that they want in a solution, what are their priorities, why would they choose you over someone else, if there's anyone else involved in the decision, and also what their concerns might be, what objections they might have. Lastly, what we want to talk about is the timing. So when would they actually be interested in getting this solution on board? When do they actually want to make a commitment to making this purchase decision? And then what happens is usually some kind of information confirmation. So if you will, that's Scene 3. And we're still in Act 2, the opening, but we're talking now Scene 3. And Scene 3 is the information confirmation. And essentially what that is it's a summary of the information that's been collected during the discovery, and a repetition, really, a rephrasing of the prospect's past, the prospect's future, the solution, the problem that they have, the criteria that they've just shared with you, the priorities that they have, whether or not someone else is involved in the decision, what concerns they might have, and finally, a summary of when they would want to proceed with the solution that you're offering, if everything worked out. And usually what we're after here is we're after some level of agreement. And what we find often, and this is amazing because people in my training programs, what they'll do is they'll realize, the penny drops at that point, that wow, we've actually made the sale. We've actually psychologically made the sale at that moment without even asking for money. And really, what all of this is based on is the idea that someone needs to psychologically purchase your product before they're willing to to turn over a transaction. And so that's what the information confirmation is all about. And then really what happens then is the close. And that is, in fact, Act 3.